Oh, thank you guys so much. My name is Riva, and I am a fish biologist, so I am not accustomed to being looked at by this many humans. It is pretty unnerving. I've had phases of my life where most of the attention I got on a given day was from hundreds of beady little fish eyes. And now the fish I study are mostly blind, so I mostly get through my day-to-day life without scrutiny. And, that's the way I like it. Like, I want to be the one who watches. It's a good thing I study animal behavior. You could even say I study ethology. So ethology is just a pretentious way of saying animal behavior. It's kind of like the psychology of animals, except that ethology, unlike psychology, is a real science. That's right. I'm edgy. But one thing that ethology and psychology agree on is that the human species is very self-centered. We think that we're the ones who observe animals and learn about their behavior. And we rarely stop to think about how, in all the diverse ways that humans and animals interact, what are animals observing and learning about us? I think this idea of animal ethology is really interesting. I'd like to talk a little bit more about it. I feel uniquely qualified to talk about animal ethology because I am an American living in England. So I feel like I know what it's like to be wildlife observing humans. Being an American in England is like being a puppy at a tea party for cats. No one really knows what to do with you. Eventually, they just give you some tea and a biscuit and do their best to civilize you. So my British friends have done a pretty good job civilizing me. I mean, I'm not completely civilized, as we'll see in the rest of the set. They've really had their work cut out for them because I've spent a lot of time in some pretty uncivilized places. And you could even say that I have been the object of animal investigations before. So my fish, they're from the Amazon rainforest, and that's where I've gone to do field work. And the Amazon is just amazing, right? So I go down there, have these wild adventures in the jungle. It's fantastic. And every day I get up and I put on my fishing gear and I hike through trails to little streams to chase my fish. It's great. But one of the other ways that trails are important in the Amazon is because they're so useful for big cats like jaguars. So jaguars often use human-made trails to get through the forest. And one of the best ways to monitor jaguars is to set up camera traps. So a camera trap is just like a motion-activated camera, and you can put them along trails and get a sense for how many jaguars in the area and what they're up to. At the end of each week, you gather the traps and you look at the pictures on them. So one week we do that. We look at the pictures on the first trap, and there's a picture of me, because I walked on the trail. And then 10 minutes later, there's a picture of a jaguar. And I had no idea it was there. It was humongous, 80 to 90 kilos, 12 to 14 stone for my British friends. It was amazing that I'd been in the same area as this jaguar. So then we checked the second camera trap, and there I am, walking by the trail. 5 minutes later, the same jaguar. Oof. And the third camera trap, there I am walking by. 3 minutes later, the same jaguar. So basically, this jaguar had spent the entire morning following me around, probably trying to figure out why I was trying so hard to catch such small fish. And when I tell my friends the story, they get really worried. They're like, oh my God, it was trying to hunt you. And we can't know for sure what it was doing, but I think there's a lot of evidence that it wasn't. Because it had a lot of opportunities. There were a lot of times when I was vulnerable, not being very vigilant, just so focused on outsmarting these tiny fish, which is embarrassingly difficult. There's no more vulnerable prey in the Amazon rainforest than me. And that jaguar was hungry, I'd have been a goner. No, I think it was just honestly curious about what was happening. And I really wonder what it thought. Sometimes, when you interact with an animal, you know that it doesn't like what it's seen. So I'm going to tell you one more story from the Amazon. It ends with a horrified bird. So let's back up a little. There's a lot of things that are easier for men than there are for women. Don't worry, I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to make things uncomfortable. I'm just going to talk about the physical realities of urination. So Helen Wilkes, who's going to do a set for you later, her mom has an expression that for men, the whole world is their toilet. For women, it's a little harder, isn't it? Right? Like for women, you have to pull down your trousers and your pants and you have to squat. It's basically like telling any animal in the area, come attack me, I'm in an awkward position and can't interrupt what I'm doing. Not to mention, if you're in the Amazon, there's a lot of other stuff you have to worry about. Like, no matter how thoroughly you check the area for snakes, you never know if there's something slithering behind you. So a lot of women, including myself, I'm not ashamed to admit, address this problem by peeing in groups. So now we're at the social urination part of the evening. Don't worry, there's no audience participation. But I will describe it in vivid detail. So, you're in the bush, you're in the Amazon, and you form a group, and you go off into the bush, and everyone checks their immediate area. You look for snakes, you look for nests of insects, scorpions, tarantulas, what have you. And then when everyone's satisfied, you unzip and you squat, and you do one more check, herd vigilance. That's the name of the game. So one more, snake, no snake, no snake, no snake, no snake. Okay, and then when everyone is satisfied, synchronized peeing time. And this one time during the no snake urination ritual, I made eye contact with this bird. It was this beautiful rare tanager, and bird expressions are hard to read, but it looked like it was looking at something unspeakably embarrassing. And it kind of was, right? Kind of like you can see it. And then finally, it was just so uncomfortable, looked away and shuffled. It was so uncomfortable, I forgot how to fly. And that poor bird, I don't think it knew what was going on at all. But a lot of the times, animals figure us out, right? Even dumb animals, like pandas. Pandas are cute, right? But they are just terrible at being alive. They are so evolutionarily ill-equipped. Part of the reason it's so hard to save them from extinction is because they can't get them to mate properly. They don't line it up right. And I thought about putting in a joke about human males there, but human males usually figure that out. So pandas are they're the worst. Anyway, we try to save them. So it's really a big deal if a panda in captivity gets pregnant, right, for conservation. So the pandas themselves have noticed this. So when a panda becomes pregnant, she gets better food. She gets her own room away from the other pandas. It's a big deal. So this one panda, suddenly it started behaving as though it were pregnant. I'm eating for two, oh my. And her keepers were so excited, right? So they shower her with treats and give her her own room. Everything is great. They prepare for the arrival of a new panda, and then on one of her panda prenatal visits, they realized that she was faking it. This panda is not even a little bit pregnant. And then after they stopped giving her the treats and the attention, she was like, I had a good run. And this is a problem. A lot of pandas have done this. So you can imagine, at least the pandas are dumb, right? They didn't go on strike for better wages or whatever. What happens when a smart animal figures us out? So crows are really smart. They live around here. And when human science messes with crows, things can get really gnarly. So there was this study. It doesn't even matter what they were trying to investigate, but they accidentally discovered that crows are super, super smart and remember everything all the time. So all you need to know about the study is that it involved tagging baby crows. So they had a pretty limited budget, so they used the local crows that were living on campus, and they needed to figure out the cheapest way to do the study. Turns out the cheapest way was undergrads. So they got some poor hapless undergrads who actually had to do the dirty work. Now it turns out that crows hate it when you mess with their babies, like many animals. So the poor undergrads had to go out in pairs. So one undergrad would fight off the parents while the other one tagged the babies. And after the study was over, you can imagine they're like, oh, thank God, that was so stressful. I never want to work with crows ever again. Well, the crows weren't done with them. So for the rest of their time at university, every time they walked across campus, they got dive bombed by crows. I guess they were never late to class. It's not like they can lollygag, but Like for the rest of their degree, this happened. And can you like imagine like, being like a normal student on the campus and, going on a date with a cutie from biology and things are going well. You go for a stroll through your beautiful leafy campus and suddenly they get attacked by all the neighborhood birds? I mean, like, best case scenario, they're a demon. I mean, worst case scenario, Republican. But, all right, I lied. I got a little political. But still, that would be like a bad sign, wouldn't it? No, I think animal behavior and ethology are really just amazing. Like even just the smallest glimmer into like another being's consciousness is like a kind of transcendence, isn't it? And I am just desperately curious what animals think of me. I mentioned that my fish are mostly blind, so I like to imagine that they experience me as a sort of hopefully benevolent blob, that feeds them and occasionally moves them around. I mean, I have told my fish all my secrets, like any well-adjusted fish biologist. And I wonder, like, what else they've picked up on. I mean, I'm just glad I'll never have to see them do a stand-up set about me. Thank you guys so much. You were so great.